Back with another video. I went ahead and streamed Abadox. I was actually going to keep it for Friday night, but I went ahead and streamed it because I was able to beat it within, I think it was like 22 minutes was the entire video. It's kind of a short game if you play it all. Well, if you play it and you play it all the way through, it's a shorter game. I'm going to tell you the story behind it because they don't really tell you a whole backstory. They show you like an opening scene, but not a whole good backstory, and then we'll get into the game, how it is, and what it's about, and things like that. It says in the year 5012, a planet known as Abadox is soon eaten by a giant alien organism known as Parasitus. Once the planet has been consumed, the alien takes the form of the entire planet and seeks to devour other planets within the galaxy. The galactic military tries to fight off the alien, but to no avail, as Parasitus destroys the entire galactic military except for one hospital ship. Princess Maria is devoured as well, and the galactic military sends out its best fighter, Second Lieutenant Nozzle, to enter Parasitus' body and rescue Princess Maria. So basically, you're Second Lieutenant Nozzle, Nazel, however you want to say it, and you go to save Princess Maria and all that and all those things. So you go into it's basically kind of like a body of this parasite. And so a lot of things that are coming at you are different things that are that would be like body, like flying eyeballs, and just different things that go with a body and stuff. The game is not very long. It's 7 stages. The last stage is an escape stage. You have to go from point A to point B, going out of the area to escape, and it gets faster as the stage gets toward the end. So you have to be pretty quick about it. It's a one-player game. It's like games like Gradius and Life Force. For those who don't know what Gradius or Life Force is, they are side-scrolling space shooters. So Defender's another one for those who may know what Defender is, because that's one of the first games that was like that. You can move all over the screen with your character. It's not a spaceship, it's a character. But you move all over the screen with your character. You move wherever you want. It's one-hit kills. I think you only have 3 lives, and then after you get killed 3 times, the game is over. So you have to be kind of careful about that. When you do die, you restart from the checkpoint that you last passed at some point there in the stage. Gradius and Life Force are about the same with this game. They are they're one-hit kill. These games are fairly difficult to get through unless your reflexes are good, or unless you can collect the power-ups and use them to your advantage. There are some power-ups in this game. We'll go over those in a minute. Stages 1, 3, 5, and 7, the odd number stages, they go from left scrolling to right. They're side-scrolling shooters. The other ones are top-down. They're 2, 4, and 6 are those levels, the even-numbered levels. And what the top-down is normally you go from the bottom of the screen up on certain shooters that are like that and like they are now. But on this particular game, they decided to go from the top and go down. So they decided to go from the top of the screen and go down. And it's very different for people like me who are used to the bottom of the screen going up to the top of the screen, because that's what we've always been taught. So when a game is made by a designer and it goes differently than what we've been taught, it makes it a little bit difficult, because you're not used to these things and you're not used to it doing that. So you get a little bit you get a little bit confused. There's a mini boss and then a big boss in each stage. The music changes to let you know when you got to the mini boss. The music then changes again to let you know when you got to the last boss of the stage. So there's different mini bosses and bosses. I won't go over all the bosses. Every one of them's got a weak point. That's where you have to shoot them at. It kind of flashes whenever you shoot them, so you'll know when you've hit them. If you watch the playthrough, you'll know where to hit them before you even get to them, because I just kind of shoot there. There's a lot of codes for this game that I found online. You can find them at GameFAQs.com. I used, I'll tell you which code I used here in a minute, but there's a lot of codes for this game. There's an invincibility code. There's all power-ups. There's a stage select. There's one that is it's invincibility, all power-ups, and stage select. And every time that you hit the start button, like if you have the all power-ups one entered, just it, every time you hit start, you'll get the power-ups back. Every time that you, but like the one that I had, every time I hit start, pause the game, and unpause the game, I had all the weapons back, but I had invincibility and all the weapons on anyway, because here's the thing. I wanted to get this game done for you guys, and I wanted to go ahead and show you the entire game, and I will use codes if need be to show you the entire game, because I feel that if there are codes that can help me get through the game, I will use them and I will show you the entire game. This one, I was able to do that through, and like I said, and like I tell people all the time, they said, don't you feel bad using cheats? No, I don't feel bad using cheats. Number one, the developers put them in there for a reason. And number two, some of these games are so daggone hard, and some of them are so ridiculously difficult that you're not going to get through them. Some people are not going to get through them. I'm not going to beat my head into the wall trying to get through them. So what we're going to do is, video games cheat, so we're going to cheat. So when the video, all these video games, most of them cheat. So if we can find any way to exploit those cheats, we're going to use that too. So, plus my reflexes are not as fast as what they were whenever I was a kid. Now, like I said, whenever I was a kid, I probably could have played through this entire game. But I never played this game as a kid. I knew it existed. I had seen it in Nintendo Power, which was the old magazine at the time. But it never got to the place that I rented games from, so I never got to play it. And of course, I didn't hardly buy any games without seeing them first. Without trying them out and seeing them first. That was a big thing. You don't just drop $40, $50 on a video game and not know what you're getting some of the time. And now, you can look up internet reviews and everything else on video games and gameplay and stuff like that before you buy them, and make sure that that's what you want. But at that time, we couldn't. At the time that games like this were out, you didn't know, and unless you heard word of mouth or unless you played the game yourself, you had no idea if the game was any good or bad. If it was good or bad. We had gaming magazines. I don't even know if GamePro was even around then, or EGM. But Nintendo Power was around. But even Nintendo Power, even with screenshots and stuff, you still weren't real sure what you were getting on the games. So if you didn't try the game for yourself, chances are you wasn't going to buy it. So, like I said, I used the code for everything on there except for the level select. I didn't do the level select. Like I said, I found those on GameFAQs.com. So that's where those are. If you need a specific one, write it in the comment section of the video, and we'll try to get the specific one to you, or all of them to you, and we'll put them in there. This game is subtitled The Deadly Inner War. I didn't put that on the title of the game because I just didn't think it was really necessary. It is called Abadox: The Deadly Inner War. I guess they gave it the name the Deadly Inner War because you're inside of a parasite and you're going through and shooting everything down. If you hear stuff in the background, it is raining and storming here, so you may hear that. So that's what that is. The power-ups are speed boosters, increased firepower, homing missiles and shields, 3-way gun, spread fire, a laser, and a hoop-like weapon that they don't even really have a name for on anything else I looked at. All the weapons are pretty good. The shield works with the A button. Of course, no, wait a minute. Yeah, you fire with the B button, and the shield works with the A button. And the shield, just the radius of it. Whenever you have a shield, just the radius of it like increases and decreases whenever you hit the button. So the A button's not really, unless you just want to play around with the shield a lot, the A button's not really used a whole lot in this game. It's more so the B button. I think it's the B button to fire. And you'll lose all the upgrades that you have upon death. So what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that if you have upgrades, you go as far as you can, because there's nothing like getting through a large portion of the level, dying, losing all your upgrades, and having a problem getting back to where you were with a slowed down character, no power-ups. I mean, because it makes the game incredibly difficult when you lose your upgrades. It makes it incredibly difficult to go through there. It's not impossible, but it makes it more difficult. Some people will go through without without upgrades. They'll go through without them. Me, on the other hand, give me the upgrades. I need them. I'm not, I mean, I can do pretty good like on Gradius and Life Force and this game itself, but I'd rather have some upgrades at least for help. So we're going to be doing sometime here in the near future. I don't know when it's going to be. There's 4 Advanced Dungeons and Dragons games that are on the Nintendo, that are on the emulator that I'm playing, the Nintendo emulator. They're all 4 almost basically the same. And I think what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to do 10 to 15 minute videos of each of the 4 games, just to give you, 10 to 15 minutes worth of game footage on each of the 4. They're not really different. It's the story and the backgrounds and things like that that's going to be a little bit different. But we'll do a little bit of gameplay on them as much as I can do. Because I'm not going to go through and beat them all, because these are they're good games. But unless you have a map, or unless you're drawing a map in a dungeon that you're in, these games are extremely difficult to figure out where you're going and where you need to go in these dungeons, because you're looking straight out ahead at the dungeon. You guys will see what I'm talking about when I get there. Some people already know what I'm talking about. You see straight ahead in these dungeons, and it's really hard. Like, if you run into a dead end, you have to back up, and then you have to try to figure out how far back you have to go to make like if you take a right turn and you run into a dead end way on down the hallway, you have to back all the way up and try to back up to where you remember where you were to take that left turn. All the while you're still fighting enemies and everything else. And like I said, it's not a bad thing, and it's not a bad way to play a game, but unless you are drawing a map yourself while you are doing this, or unless somebody else has made the maps or something like that, it's going to be a little bit difficult to go through. But I just want to show you guys each of the games, and I just want to show you how they are. It's probably not going to be on a Friday night flashback, and they're probably going to be at separate times. We'll see what they are. My final thoughts on Abadox. It's not a bad game. I would have liked to play it whenever I was growing up, just to see how far I could actually get on it as a kid, as opposed to now. It's one, like I said, the first time I played it was probably a year ago, maybe if that. Whenever I got the emulator, so um, it's not a bad game. It's a pretty good game, but it does have that feel to it, and you'll see that with Gradius and Life Force whenever we get there. So, but it's not a bad game. It was pretty enjoyable. Short playthrough for 20 some minutes. Short playthrough, enjoyable. So until next time, we'll see you then.